um, because it's good for the rest of the market. As you see, like people who want Bitcoin to fail don't understand this market. Because when Bitcoin fails, if Bitcoin fails or when Bitcoin dumps, everything else dumps even harder. So like, why would you want Bitcoin to fail? Like, what's wrong with you? So you gotta like, you want Bitcoin to continue to rise at the end of the day. You don't gotta own it. You don't gotta love it. These are just investments. But take your emotions out of it. You want Bitcoin to do very well. And it's one of the most resilient assets in this market, believe it or not. It's outperformed a lot of altcoins. It hasn't outperformed this specific run, like, SHX, XRP, Syrup, but I think it a little bit. I think it's outperformed Syrup by a little bit, but still, it's outperforming most of the market, believe it or not. So, and when it retraces, it's only retracing like a little few percent, while everything else is taking hard hits. All right, XRP. So this looks good as well, even on the micro, breaking these little supply zones. So look, we broke this one, retested it, hit this one, retested the middle point of this one, continued higher, broke this one, retracing a bit. This is what you want to see, even on the micro. And we're only on the 4 hour time frame. So this as well is headed towards right now, towards like 267 in my opinion, and we may get a little reaction from there. So, um, yeah, and yeah, well, so we're more than likely gonna hit right there, get a little reaction, and then we should continue higher. We want to see how this is gonna react to this high, but it should be similar to Bitcoin, to where Bitcoin passes that high around 116 and then retraces and then continues higher. Because once again, like anybody who was selling here, they were in profit over here, but now they're about to start getting into break even. So the algorithm is gonna just use all that liquidity and push through all of this. So I do expect this rise to be way more aggressive as we head finally after this liquidity grab. These rises should be way more aggressive. We're now in quarter four. We got this bottom out over here, and the yearly candle is about to close in a little over 2 months. So things should be picking up. We don't have time for this slow price action anymore, all this sideways shit. Things should start picking up, and we can finally start pushing towards a new all-time high, which, more than likely, uh, we got a new all-time high, and more than likely, price is gonna cool down once again. But I just don't see it being this long. I would love to see it be a push over, a quick retracement, and then a continuation, unless it just goes parabolic as well. But um, honestly, I would prefer to see a break and a retest, and then a continuation, because then that completely invalidates ever coming back to this range. So that's why you always want to see a break and some retest of the area after all-time high is broken, because it then confirms that we're never coming back to these ranges. But yeah, with XRP, not looking too bad right now. So we should just, expect some turbulence once we head over this 265 range right here. So we'll see how quickly we can push through that. All right, essay check. So this isn't looking too bad. Too bad, not too bad. Yeah, so when we take a look at this from the weekly time frame, we basically came all the way back down to this weekly demand zone. Pretty exaggerated. I'm not gonna lie, pretty exaggerated. Because they could have just created a base over here. Pretty exaggerated. But the fact that like, look, this was from October, this was from April, this was from June. So it's still respecting, those are from July. It's still respecting all these lows. And now that it's almost over, it's still respecting that. So that's a great sign. We're just getting such, you know, strong price action to the upside that these dips are pretty excessive, but the overall chart is still performing extremely well. This is a very volatile asset, believe it or not. But when it goes to the upside, we love that volatility, right? So, You got to be able to, handle these downside swings, to experience the upside swings as well. So just since April, this thing rose over 470%. And then since back in August 2024, this thing rose a little over 1,300% and still up over 400%. So, this is still on a strong trend. I do believe that I do still believe the all-time high is like a magnet, so around that 5 cent range. If we take a look at this current move right now, that I do believe that the bottom is in, and there is still a minor possibility that they do sweep this low, just because I know how, the algorithm is. Like there is a minor possibility that they possibly sweep this low right here. Like very minor possibility. Um, they didn't do it here, but this is not too similar. Hold on. I think this one, if you take a look at this on the daily, this one looks like this, but on the 4 hour. So it looks similar to this, but on the 4 hour. So as you can see, when SHX starts building a bottom, it usually starts, ranging sideways and building up momentum to the side. So look right there on the 4 hour, look, it's building momentum sideways. So that's how we look right now. It's a good price action, good range. Once we break above right here, 1.0146, that's basically confirming that the bottom is in. As you can see in the past, literally earlier this month, price refused to push through these supply zones. Very deceptive. And then we got that overall, October 10th price absence. So, and now we're building up here, getting prepared to head higher. So very similar scenario like these. We just want to see this push through these zones and we can finally continue higher. If you take a look at the past, it's the same thing. Before price is getting ready to push higher, it's going to react to these little micro supply zones, like right here, for example. See, look, it reacted to that supply zone, retraced and pushed through it. Retraced and then pushed through it. Retraced and then reacted right here, retraced and pushed through it. So we hit it, we're retracing, let's get that push through. So using the fib from this low to this high, target one is right there around that, right below the all-time high. So target one, the next target is the all-time high. And then target two, we got it at 7 cents right there, which is right next to that 8 cent range as well. So that's what I believe is coming up next. If things start, if we do start getting some aggressive swings to the upside, this can easily be back above 2 cents in a matter of a week or two. It could happen by the end of this month. Very possible. So let's see what we could get, because I can't sit here and say that I'm gonna predict, oh, we're gonna get a big pump. It does seem like it's coming, but I just don't know when those are coming. So it could happen this month, it could happen in November, it could literally happen in December. We could literally just get one push literally within a week straight back to 2.5 cents. Then the next week opens up slightly bearish and then continues that momentum. And literally in a couple of weeks, we could be right at the all-time high. That's a possibility, but it doesn't have to play out like that, So that's just being very optimistic. But this trend is still holding up, so that's a good sign. And then let's just make sure. Yeah, so SHX still on its overall trend, still respecting areas. But I am curious to see how we react at this all-time high level. Because if price is, let's say price is pushing towards it and breaks it and then retraces quickly, that's a good sign. But if we like stay there for like 1, 2, 3 weeks, I don't like that. I don't want to stay there for too long. So I may continue to de-risk out of it and move into other assets, if anything. But overall, I do want to see SHX at these higher prices as well. But this all-time high is going to be an area that the market is gonna experience a bit of turbulence, in my opinion, because it's basically getting ready for price discovery, and it depends how quickly we can get out of this all-time high range. Hopefully, they turn the machines back on, the pumping machines, and we can start pushing toward higher levels, with aggression. All right, so Velo. So last week I mentioned how, we're still within this overall supply demand zone over here, within this overall demand zone. And it's been respecting it. It's been respecting it. So it did not break below this August 2024 low, but it did break below this April and this June one. So I don't like this, but I do like the fact that it's respecting this one because this one is still overall a valid one for this overall trend. So, Velo just did not get as much momentum in 2025, but it still has a possibility to get something. Now, let's look at, you know, we have to really pay attention to Velo, especially as everything else starts to rise, because it can start getting into a dangerous range to where, yeah, we're gonna get a move to the upside, but we might not get what we think we're gonna get, and we might not get to these higher levels. It's possible we don't, so we'll have to see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pay attention to Velo and see where it's at while these are also rising. So, XRP, Bitcoin, SHX, I'm going to see where Velo is at because let's say SHX is at 5 to 8 cents and Velo's only like right here around 2.5 to, 3. Then that's showing a sign of weakness to where Velo likely isn't going to continue higher. So we got to pay attention to those details. Um, and see, and de-risk once we do get to certain price levels if it's showing lack of momentum. Now, if this thing just goes like this, that's like the worst case scenario. If this thing just like within the next few weeks, if we're like back over, if we're back over 2 cents within the next few weeks, within this quarter, like within the first half of this quarter, that's a very positive sign. So, yes, definitely I'm gonna be paying close attention to it because it is respecting some lower levels, but it is showing weakness in 2025 compared to many others. So, while I do believe that we're gonna get, a turnaround, we just might not get what we were expecting all along. So this is an important range right here, around 2.5 to 3 cents. So let's see how quickly we could get there. And let's see what the market ends up giving us. Let's see when we get there. Because once again, if Bitcoin's topping out and this is like only right here, like that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. If we're just struggling to push through these areas, because we still gotta hit 4.5 to 5 cents. We still gotta hit that because we're gonna more than likely what? Get a reaction from it. And that's always the worst case scenario. I've had these levels up here for a while. 0.024, we got a reaction from it. 0.0475, more than likely we got to get a reaction from it. 8 cents, we got to get a reaction from it. Now, what's the scenario that we don't get a reaction from it? The only way is if we just pump literally within weeks through all this. And then we just go to the highest one and we get a reaction from there to then continue. And that's what happens when in a bull run. So you see, I'm looking at what can still possibly happen in a bullish, very bullish parabolic scenario. And then I'm also looking at what can happen in a scenario to where we don't get that bullish price action we were anticipating. Now, Velo to me is still a strong play, but hey, that doesn't mean that it's gonna get the price action that we expect. Things just do not always go as planned. So you gotta have a plan B. You gotta have a plan A and a plan B. So we just went over that. That's what I'm expecting. But for now, let's see how this recovers with the rest of the market, and let's see if it can gain some overall momentum to get back over 2 cents, within this quarter. That's what we want to see at this point, especially above this high right here. I definitely want to see us above 1.5 cents, and right here is 2 cents. Yeah, definitely want to see that within this quarter. within the first half of this quarter, or it doesn't really matter. Within this quarter, I want to say, definitely want to see that. And that would be a good sign because as long as it's respecting this overall demand zone, we can still literally get massive price action from the zone because this is an overall accumulation range that was created back in 2024, and we have yet to break below it. So that, is an important factor that I just can't deny. At the end of the day, the fact that it's still respecting this demand zone, it could be for a good reason. So but we have this supply zone right here. So we have this selling area and we have this buying area. So we'll just pay attention and see how we react as we go from the buying area to the next selling area, or if we're gonna invalidate this selling area and push through it. Because remember that we already did touch this area, the selling area, and when price touches a selling area, not always, but sometimes it goes through it. And I'm sure I've shown you guys this many times. So that's a scenario right now to where we can start pushing through this range. But if not, then price will likely just come back inside this, show weakness, and then from there it can, just it's tricky because it can do this too. It can literally come up here, retrace a bit, and then go higher. That's a scenario too. So it does get tricky at these ranges. So we'll see though. We'll definitely stay on top of it and pay attention to how quickly we could get to those higher ranges.